Welcome back for another video. Who are the best players to buy for GW7, or if you're on a wildcard even? We're going to dig into all the top players using FPL review projections. Well played those of you that picked up Palmer from last week's video. I wish I was one of them. Starting off with the keepers then. Arsenal are home to Southampton, which has Raya top this week on 4.4 points. Although last week looked like the better entry point, he didn't miss out on much after conceding twice to 0.32 expected goals. He's still a very good purchase with Bournemouth away coming after Southampton home. And then it's a bit trickier, he's got Liverpool, Newcastle and Chelsea. But keepers, as a reminder, are always for the long term. You might have them all the way till your second wildcard way later in the season. Long term, Arsenal's fixtures are amazing, and I doubt anyone would bat an eyelid if those three red fixtures were in game week 21, 22 and 23. And barring injury, you're going to own him for all those fixtures regardless, just in a different order. So he's my favourite of the keepers right now. The 4.5ml keepers have been really unpredictable as usual. If you can only afford a cheap keeper, then Flecken's my favourite for 4.5ml, projected 17.5 points over the next 5. As far as who's top for the next 5, it's actually Edison. He's got a ridiculous run of Fulham, Wolves, Southampton, Bournemouth and Brighton. For an extra 0.1ml with a longer term view, Raya wins for me. Ipswich, Leicester and Everton have actually got nice fixtures ahead, but I wouldn't feel comfortable buying their keepers right now, especially the first two anyway. Everton could be turning the corner with players back from injury now, and they do have a better fixture schedule. But then again, there's Mykolenko for 4.3ml, who looks like a good 0.5ml saving on Pickford. Let's move on to the defenders then. Gabriel and Saliba top the table with 4.7 and 4.6 points, followed very closely by Vardy on 4.5. There was a great thread by City_Tactics on Twitter, summarising the role that Vardy played last match. It's very unusual to what we've seen before. In possession, he played as a left-sided defender in the back three, with Akanji being the one pushing into midfield, which is pretty typical. But when the ball was up the pitch, City's shape changed to a 2-2-6 formation, and Vardy played along the front line. We've seen Lewis play in the front six a lot recently as well, and others in the past as well, but that's from a midfield role in the build-up, rather than that back three role that Vardy had in the build-up. In a nutshell, it's a bit riskier, it's high risk, high reward. Vardy was caught out a few times watching the game when Newcastle broke, but he took up great positions which ultimately led to his goal, and he's a great pick when Grealish starts with him as well. He's also dropped to 5.9ml, he's an amazing pick for the next 5. He makes the table over Lewis because his minutes are expected to be better, whereas Lewis is still a bit more of a question mark every week. Though there's a good chance we get some early team news in GW7 as well, and if you've not got him, you could consider going Lewis instead for that 1.2ml saving if there's some info on that. So Trent tops the defender projections for the next 5 with 19.7 points. A disappointing way to lose a clean sheet last game after miscommunication or maybe lack of between Konate and Alisson. He got booked as well that game for a 1-pointer. For my team, that's where it gets tricky, deciding between Trent and Palmer for the future. Trent's by far the best defender in the game in my eyes, and he's been unlucky not to have more than 1 assist. He's created 14 chances, 2.34 expected goal involvement. Ignoring last season where he was injured for a stretch, he's averaged 183 points per season for the 5 years before that. Now in my case, the path to Palmer would involve selling him at some point, and I'd have to drop him down to a 4.5ml defender. The alternative, which is where I'm currently at, is Trent and a midfielder for around 8ml. Trent's an easy hold away at Palace next, but I can understand if some of you have had enough of not having Palmer given his ownership as well. Liverpool are the best defence for expected goals conceded after 6 game weeks with 4.52 XGC, and then it's City on 5.24, and then it's Forest on 5.38. Spurs are a surprise to see in 4th here based on their reputation defensively, but obviously that Man United red card would have helped reduce their XGC a bit. Pedro Porro could be someone that non-owners look to soon. Calafiori makes the table, but I'd avoid him. It doesn't look like he's locked down that left back spot yet, with Timber also playing there recently. Now White missed the Leicester game of injury, which saw both Timber and Calafiori starting, but Arteta says White's in contention with the PSG game midweek. Cucurella makes the table, but I'd avoid him. After Forest home, it's Liverpool, Newcastle, Man United and Arsenal. Their fixtures look a lot better from game week 12, starting with Leicester away, which is when I'm considering Colwill. If you're planning for the future, I would get Colwill instead, if anything, for 4.5ml. Davies for 4.5ml as well is a solid pick from Ipswich. Against Villa, he created 7 chances, which is crazy for a defender. He took 7 corners, 11 crosses in total, 4 big chances created. Perhaps the low clean sheet potential there can be made up by involvement in the attack. He had 0.52 XGR on the weekend. I mentioned Mykolenko earlier. He works nicely as a dirt cheap pick for 4.3ml. You can stick him as your first defender on your bench. He's got Newcastle this week, which isn't great, but then it's Ipswich, Fulham, Southampton and West Ham. Going even cheaper than that, there's Fast for 4.1ml and Greaves for 4ml. They're both decent picks to stick last on your bench in case of emergency. Jury's still out on Van der Berg as a 4ml pick. He has started 3 in a row now for Brentford. If he's a regular starter, then he's the best form defender easily, but the question remains if he continues to play. Onto the midfielders, and this is where it gets very interesting. This week, Saka's top with 7.3 points. It's astonishing he didn't come away with any returns against Leicester really. 1.08 XGI from 4 shots in the box, 8 chances created, 4 of those big chances. I've got no plans to sell him for Palmer personally, despite the blank and Palmer's all. It does feel like points chasing to me. Let me know if you agree with that if you've got Saka and not Palmer. Palmer and Saka are dead even on the projections for the next 5 as well, which is worth mentioning. Where I think you can make the case of buying Palmer is if you've got Salah. Now Salah was fairly quiet last match, and he did rescue a respectable score from that penalty won by Jota. One thing that adds to Palmer's appeal is that he wasn't even registered in Chelsea's Europa Conference League squad, so he's getting the midweeks off when they're playing there, and he comes back on the weekends as fresh as possible. What I will do is I'll put together a wildcard video as many of you have asked for it. Make sure you subscribe for when that comes tomorrow. I'm going to spend some time later working out whether I'd have Saka, Palmer and Haaland, or just 2 of those. Should we be looking at Martinelli and Trossard then? Both 6.9 mil. They both got 1 goal, 1 assist last match, both on the table this week. I think they're fine as short-term picks, but after a couple of game weeks I wouldn't feel comfortable starting them versus Liverpool home and then Newcastle and Chelsea away. Not completely nailed either. I like Martinelli slightly more than Trossard. Martinelli's so important down that left flank for Arsenal, and he seems to be rebuilding his confidence recently. Arteta also highly values his work rate, which you don't get as much from Trossard or Sterling if they were to play there. What about Bowen then? 5.5 projected points this week. It's a great fixture to potentially turn their bad form around, home to Ipswich. West Ham have been really poor this season so far, but they weren't exactly good last season and he still managed 181 points. He's a really under the radar pick, 5.6% owned. He's averaged 177 points the past 3 seasons as well. A couple of Spurs picks I really like that aren't here on the table, Maddison and Johnson. Maddison's got a goal and 3 assists, Johnson's got 2 goals, 2 assists. Maddison would be my pick between the two. In terms of underlying numbers, he's 3rd behind Salah and Palmer for expected goal involvement among midfielders this season, on free kicks and corners. His minutes are a bit better as well. Johnson's averaging 70 minutes per game so far, Maddison's averaging 80. If you're on a wild card, I'd also get Rodgers as your 5th midfielder. He's unbelievable value even for 5.2 mil, and he got his first goal of the season on the weekend. A disappointing blank from Diaz versus Wolves on the weekend. I think he's fine to give 1 more week, unless he starts midweek in the Champions League, then he could be a risk. Now Liverpool do have the early kickoff, so we do have a strong chance of some early teams as well, whether he is in the starting 11. Long term, I would say he's a concern, because Gakpo is serious competition for him, combined with the fixtures turning a bit. Finishing up with the forwards, and Haaland's top this week, 7.7 points. If we compare him to the midfielders, Saka was on 7.3, Palmer 6.9, Salah 6.4. So the projections favour Haaland for captaincy this week. Let us know in the comments who you're going with at the moment. I've got Haaland and Saka in my team, and at the moment I'm feeling pretty settled on Haaland captain. Now Solanke's numbers leap off the page here. After Haaland, he's 2nd among all forwards for the next 5 projections with 24.5. Haaland's on 35.1. He's got 2 goals in his last 2, and he's got a fixture run of Brighton, West Ham, Palace, Villa and Ipswich. So he's my favourite forward after Haaland right now, which is why I picked him on the wildcard. Watkins and Havertz, very good picks as well for a bit more of your money. Last game week I feel like was the better entry points for those two though. In terms of the budget forwards, Calvert-Lewin's got Newcastle this week, Wood's got Chelsea. I'd be more comfortable starting Calvert-Lewin over Wood this week if you need to buy a budget forward. They're dead even for the next 5 though, so Calvert-Lewin offers a very small saving with slightly better fixtures. I prefer both of those to Vardy despite Leicester's fixtures improving now. Cunha's one is on my watch list, he's got 2 goals so far this season. Wolves have had horrendous fixtures and perhaps they can turn it around like Everton might be about to. He's 6.5 mil though, which is a bit steep for what he's offered, but Wolves do have amazing fixtures besides City and Game Week 8. Strand Larsen, also from Wolves, is on my radar for 5.5 mil. The other 5.5 mil forward, who probably looks the best of the bunch right now, is Delap. He's a City Academy product, he looks a real talent. He got braced against Villa on the weekend to rescue a point for them. And further to that, his next 4 are West Ham, Everton, Brentford and Leicester. Whereas the other budget forwards, you probably want to plan around benching them for their difficult games, whereas he's one that you can leave him for the next 4 and just see how he does, then reassess. Thanks very much for watching. Drop your transfer plans in the comments below. See you soon for the next one.